Welcome to the Unsung Heroes podcast. I'm here with my friends, and we're going to be telling you about an unsung hero from history. As we usually do, we find a hero from history that we feel has not been celebrated enough or is perhaps less known in our context today. We'll tell their story, and then we will, at the end of this episode, produce, record, write a song, and play it for you guys. And in this way, we will leave no hero unsung. I'm here, of course, with our classic crew. We have Jonny.
Yo.
We have Samuel.
What's up, guys?
And the illustrious Daniel.
Howdy, y'all.
Howdy.
Glad to be here.
The illustrious.
Illustrious. What is illustrious?
I really
mean,
was trying to
James?
set you up, and you went with howdy. I mean, of all things.
Very non-illustrious.
Hey, that's an illustrious word.
Is it?
I mean,
I don't know.
fair
I don't
enough.
know what illustrious means.
We'll ask our Texans out there about that.
Sam,
one.
what is illustrious?
Not howdy. That's what.
It's something. It's something
Not
that
how-
illustrates something.
I think it more has to do with illumination, like light. It's
Yes. Yeah, that sounds right.
How
I could
about
be wrong, though.
illuminating?
yeah, like illuminating. That means you're like a sage in a sense. You're giving us wisdom.
I mean, you said it. No, literally.
You want
I
to come
said
sit in my
so.
chair?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So passive aggressive.
Well,
How do you
James,
sit in my chair? How about you do my job for a
I'm
day?
excited to hear who you have
Oh, yeah.
to share about
Yes.
today.
This one's fun. I'm
I'm
excited.
a little scared
about
at
this
how deep history it's going to be because James
Oh
is
yeah.
one. Yeah.
an encyclopedia
I know.
of knowledge.
Well, thankfully, this story, there's not a ton of information on this
Oh.
person. I sleuthed around as much as I could with the time that I had. And the story is going to be, in a way, it's almost like archetypal because it's such a classic style of story that we've seen iterated in fiction. So it's going to be kind of a, this happens, you're like, oh yeah, then this happened, right? And it's going to be kind of fun to see how this works out. But
okay.
to give you some context, this story was fun. I was up probably too late one night, as you guys probably can relate to. And I was watching some really like deep dive documentary video on the Sentinelese Islands. These are these rare, not uninhabited,
Oh,
these
yeah.
rare uncontacted islands, relatively speaking, where there's these tribes that have never encountered kind of the modern
Is that where
broader
that
world.
Christian guy died? A few
Yes,
years ago?
exactly. And I was watching these like deep dive, hour-plus long documentaries. It was fascinating. Not my podcast for the day, but as I was doing that, of course, the algorithm's like, oh, you like remote islands in far off Southeast Asia? Here. And I saw this really random video, and it was this picture of this guy, and turns out his name is Carl Emil Pettersson. Now he's from Sweden, so should I say Pettersson? I don't
Pettersson.
know. Maybe. Okay, maybe. Right. It has like
We made it about 3 minutes
S's.
before James's accent
you-
came out.
Well, I think I did the most offensive.
started
one. I'm sorry. All my Swedes out there.
James was pretty true to
I
form,
cannot
though.
believe they
Yeah.
did this to us. It has 2 S's, you know, like those names, and
Oh,
still
yeah.
retained a
Peters.
double S. So it's like
Yeah.
Peter's son.
Peter's
So,
son.
anyway, this is a really interesting story of a Swede from the late 1800s, early 1900s that I'm gonna tell today. And it has some. There were some moments when he was somewhat sung, to be fair, but we've had that exception for a long time now.
Yeah.
But relatively speaking, not so well known these days, despite how interesting his story is. So I thought I'd dive into a story today. and
never
we'll
heard of
learn
him.
about Carl Emil Pettersson. Okay, so to begin, Carl Emil Pettersson was born in October of 1875 in a small town of Sollentuna, just north of Stockholm. So he's near Stockholm, normal life. Sadly, his father, also named Carl Pettersson, abandoned his family and disappeared. So his mother, Johanna, is left with 6 children. So he's one of 6.
This is
And
eerily similar to the last
Isn't it?
episode that we did
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
on Deborah Sampson.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, her father abandoned the family.
Wow, that's
I
right.
think-
yeah.
Was she one of 6 or one of 7? Something like that as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. So
Yeah.
similar situation. So I think he's a teenager by this point when his father leaves. And this obviously makes it very challenging for their family. And in this day and age, to give you guys some historical context, we're looking at kind of the age of imperialism in terms of what's going on in the world, broadly speaking. We have the British Empire hitting its peak in some ways. You have the colonial enterprises of all these nations. Germany also is becoming a kind of a main player after Otto von Bismarck unites Germany. So this is going to become relevant later, I promise. But because this is like the prime time age of exploration, it's a great time to get a job overseas as a sailor. And so as soon as he is 17, I heard some sources say 16, but 16 or 17, Carl decides to go work on a naval merchant ship to help support his life, make something of himself, get himself out there. So in 1892, he leaves to go on a naval ship, and he sails all the way out to Southeast Asia near Papua New Guinea.
Wow.
And
It's quite a culture and climate change for them.
absolutely, absolutely. And here's the crazy thing. I'll kind of tell it like a frame story. Okay, so 15 years later, he shows up at his mother's door, finally arriving home. But what had happened in the interim is absolutely crazy. We don't know a lot about the first part of his career, but he was gone for like 15 or so years after leaving Stockholm. Okay, so, you know, I can imagine, right? This is a movie pitch right now, okay? He's left for 15 years.
15
So he
years.
didn't die.
And then he comes back and his mom's like, Carl? And it's like, mother. And it flashes back to
It
like,
zooms
what?
in.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
I'm
this
sure
is what
you're
we're doing
wondering
right
how
now.
I
That's
got
the
here.
beginning, and then it flashes back.
Exactly.
I see.
Okay, so we're going back. Okay, anyway, so what
I'm
happened?
on board.
Okay,
All
good.
right.
Budget $30 million
Pitch it to
for
us.
this movie.
Let's go. Okay. Anyway, so basically he'd gone to work on merchant ships in the Bismarck archipelago. So named after Ottoman Bismarck. This was basically a portion of these islands near Papua New Guinea controlled by the Germans. Remember, the Germans had just kind of become a thing really at this point on the world stage. Germany unifies, it becomes quite a powerful nation, and they want to get in on the colonialism game. So they take what they can, some parts in Africa, and then they also had these random islands outside of Papua New Guinea. So he's working for a German ship, and he's out there, and apparently he said in his own interviews later in life that he like survived several shipwrecks. Like he actually encountered like a couple of them. Apparently this was a normal enough occurrence where it wasn't out of the question.
Imagine
But
just dropping that in interviews, you know?
yeah, he's like, oh, this was the fifth
Fourth,
shipwreck?"
fifth?
Yeah, so after my seventh, I started to rethink sailing a little.
I'm not sailing with you at this point.
I was gonna
At
say.
some point, I realized I was the problem here.
I don't know how to sail.
I was captain on all these ships. I don't know what went wrong.
Yeah. Anyway, so Christmas Day, 1904. So at this point, he's been gone a good while. He's had a good, nice career, getting used to life. He knows the ropes. Okay. 1904, he's on a ship called the Herzog Johann Albrecht, and it sinks in a storm off the coast of a little tiny island called Tabar Island. Now, I don't know how your geography is, but if you guys know where Australia is, Papua New Guinea is just north of that. The Tabar Island is on this archipelago, like just northeast of Papua New Guinea. So it's kind of in all those little islands everywhere near Indonesia, Papua New Guinea. That's where he's basically at.
If I know anything from Dan Carlin's deep dive into the World War II front
Yes.
in Papua New Guinea, that's a horrible place.
Oh gosh, and this actually this
Not the
place will
indigenous.
actually eventually be briefly occupied by the Japanese as well. But yeah, and Austin, maybe Austin, you show a map or something, and we can pull that up on the screen for you guys. But yeah, right up there,
look
so
at that.
kind of up there.
Yeah.
So this is where he gets shipwrecked.
Also,
And, yeah,
is it archipelago?
no, that's what is it?
Archipelago?
Archipelago.
It's a PEL.
Archipelago.
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 That's what I thought it was archipelago.
I think it's archipelago.
Archipelago. Yeah, archipelago.
Well,
that's what it is. Yeah.
We could just change it every
Can
time.
we?
and
Can
at,
we?
At some point, we'll
for
get it
the
right.
audience, can we just define an archipelago
It's a series of islands that are
kind of connected
interconnected to each other. Yeah,
it's
yeah,
where
yeah,
like
yeah.
a fault line comes up and you see like
Yeah,
islands.
and this
pop
is a
up.
volcanic island, so all these little
Yes.
volcanoes around this area. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Anyway, sinks off this little island, Tabar Island, very remote. At this point, almost nobody knows anything about it. It's still to this day pretty remote. But at this point, it's technically kind of belongs under the sphere of influence of Germany, though not really. And there's almost been no contact with the island whatsoever. But this island is about 110 square kilometers. You know, nothing huge, not super small, but not super huge. About 400 meters altitude at its height. And it was a part of this German sovereignty and kind of managed by the German New Guinea company. But beyond this, there's like no contact whatsoever. So he lands here, and turns out this island is inhabited by a tribe of Melanesians. Melanesians, you know, you have Polynesians, Melanesians, you have Aborigines. You have different kinds of groups in that region. The Melanesians are kind of their own subset of people that immigrated some thousands of years ago. So people have been living on this island for like thousands of years, as far as we know.
Wow.
And they're just here, relatively uncontacted. And he washes up on this island. And he says that he kind of washed up next to this hibiscus bush. And immediately when he wakes up, he is surrounded on all sides by this tribe that seems very hostile and threatening at first.
Oh, goodness.
And he's like, oh,
I think
shoot.
I've seen that in a movie before as well.
Exactly.
wake
This is
up
what I'm
and they're
saying.
like-
This is like prime movie
Yeah.
material. It's
Yeah.
archetypal in a sense. So this is what's going on. So he's surrounded by these people, and the scary thing, of course, is that if you guys know anything about Papua New Guinea, until maybe, 60, 70, 80 years ago, there was a common practice of ritual cannibalism and amongst some of these tribes. Okay, right? Wow. This is kind of the area of the world known for some of these aggressive tribes that would occasionally practice ritual cannibalism. It's largely extinct now, larger part due to like Christian missionary movements, international, movements, integration, things like this. So it's not really done anymore. But at this time, there was still some of that going on. So I imagine in his mind, when he washes up on the shore, these people are known to occasionally be cannibals. This is a dangerous situation. They're obviously threatened by him, of course. Yeah. I would probably be too. Yeah. But as far as he says, when he opened his eyes and they saw his blue eyes, they were interested. They're like, whoa, we've never seen blue eyes before. And obviously he had bright blonde hair. Austin, show me a picture. This guy was he's a good looking man. He's a good-looking Swedish man, bright blue eyes.
Kind of looks like Austin.
Yeah, wait a minute. You have some Swedish in you, right? Or anyway.
Hey, so you might have said this. Was he alone when
yes.
he? Okay, so he was by himself.
I actually don't know what happened to the rest of his crew, or I have no idea. But he was washed up alone. And as soon as people see him,
the hibiscus plant come in. That's what I'm wondering.
It doesn't. It's just a detail I noticed. So I'm trying to paint the scene.
Is like, this is going to come into play.
And then they made some hibiscus tea.
No Chekhov's guns in this story.
Hibiscus. All right, okay.
It's like the opposite of a Chekhov's
is going to come back at the end.
I'll find a way to tie it in. It'll be like a symbolic representation of his like psyche or something. Okay. Anyway. Okay. So he's there. They see his eyes. He's this big guy. He's strong. He's athletic. He's pale. They're really confused by him. The blonde hair wouldn't have been as weird. I actually found some. I was looking into the Melanesians. They actually have a rare gene mutation. Right? They have a lot of kids that actually are born with blonde hair. So that wouldn't have been as weird for them. Wow. But the blue eyes were really what got them. So they're like, maybe this guy is some kind of gift from the sea. Maybe there's something going on. This is what they say. And so they bring him to their chief or their king, and his name is Lamri. So no, Lamri is a good name to know. So they bring him to Lamri, and Lamri apparently is a pretty nice guy. He's a nice chief. He is interested. He's not immediately going to be aggressive with Carl. So he sees him. Carl seems to be non-threatening.
Austin's showing us the blonde.
Oh, the blonde hair. Yeah,
wow.
There it is.
Wow. That's great.
Isn't that cool? Yeah, it's really cool. Anyway, so Lamri appears relatively friendly, and the inhabitants are also seemingly okay with him. There's no one else coming. He's not threatening anybody. He seems friendly. And so, shockingly, they decide to spare him and let him roam free on the island with them and live amongst them. Wow. So, kid you not, this man is stranded on an island, living with a remote, relatively uncontacted tribe, and he is allowed to live. Which is, if you don't know anything about like uncontacted tribes, especially today, because of their own history and rough history with outside forces, are obviously going to be generally suspicious, sometimes very much so, or aggressively suspicious, right? So this is not always something that happens. And the fact that they were friendly with him, that's a good start. And so,
do you know how well they were able to communicate?
I actually don't know much. Now, because trade routes are established pretty early on with this island, in time, as you'll see, there obviously is going to be communication happening. I also don't know to what extent their dialect is similar to other regional dialects that he might have had ability. So I actually don't know, but apparently he eventually figured things out because anyways, you'll see why in a little bit. But anyway, he kind of starts earning their trust, and unique to his day, certainly, Carl decides to really embrace the customs and lifestyle of these people. He gets along with them well. He respects what they're doing. He tries to incorporate himself into their way of life, and they really take to him. And they call him, they basically call him like the big strong guy. Like they had a nickname for him, was essentially like, you're the big strong guy, because he was really tall. Guy. He's a tall guy. He's a good fit sailor. So they kind of like that about him. He was very helpful around the tribe. So he gets along really well.
Wait, do you know what that nickname is? Is it in their language?
I have to pull it up. I had it written down somewhere, but I need to find it for you. But
I was gonna call Daniel that, but
whoa. That's good. I like this. Anyway, he earns their trust and eventually catches the eye of the chief's daughter.
You know, when you said he started to live among them, I was like,
you know what's going to happen? I'm telling you, it's an archetypal story. Right?
It's not just any daughter. It's always the chief's
daughter. I kid you not. This is a real story.
He's like,
it's
why
crazy.
did it have to be my daughter?
Just normal.
Yeah. And like later, I'm going to show you. There's like picture. I'm going to show you pictures. Like they have pictures of these people. Yeah.
Austin.
Yeah. Little update. The nickname is Strong Charlie.
That's what it is. Strong Charlie.
In English. It wasn't in their local language. It was
they give it to him.
Okay, yeah.
They called him just Strong Charlie.
Strong Charlie.
Daniel, you're a strong Charlie.
Strong Charlie.
Maybe his name is Carl, which is kind of the etymologically that comes from probably a similar place, I imagine. But yeah. Anyway,
Strong Charlie.
Also, I believe the father's name is Lami.
Lamy.
Lamy.
I have Lomri, but maybe this is,
Okay.
Different
transliterated. Who
historians.
knows? So
Yeah.
could be transliterated. I thought from different sources. I looked at several different ones, including a paper by a Swedish scholar. So I don't know if she got it wrong or not. But anyway, this is, of course, the classic tale. The chief's daughter takes a liking to Carl Pettersson. They form a relationship. Things go very well. And he fully integrates himself into the tribe and improves conditions. And he thinks to himself, I'm not just here to live.
He fully integrates himself.
I'm here
What does that mean?
Well, yeah, as you'll see.
Strong Charlie over here.
Anyway, he decides to take up efforts to improve the conditions of the island. And so he notices the island's, because it's a volcanic island, soil is extremely fertile, perfect for growing coconuts, which at the time were like great cash crops at this point in history. Coconuts got really popular in the West at this point, and people wanted the flesh of a coconut. You sprinkle coconut flakes on cakes, or, things like this, right? So
for like overseas trading.
yes, coconuts are very profitable. And he notices this soil is great for coconuts. And he asks the chief, he says, hey, chief, could I start a coconut plantation? Here's how I'll do it. Here's what we could do. We could trade with ships coming by, set some signal fires, get their attention. We could start actually building networks out here and improve the life of your people. And the chief's like, okay, sure, gives him his permission. And so he decides
this tribe had no trade set up before.
No, nothing was said. No, again, they weren't like totally uncontacted, I imagine. I think there was still some contact. Obviously, the Germans knew about it. They had some connection here. So he was also able to establish these trade connections pretty quickly. Right. So it wasn't like this island was totally exclusionary to any outside pressures. But he basically tells the people, we're going to establish trade with the outside world. I have these connections. I have their language. I know their culture and customs and ways. I'm a sailor. I worked on merchant ships my whole life. Let's establish a colony or a plantation of coconut trees. Not a colony.
Little Freudian slip.
I'm colonizing you now. No.
He's like, I mean, just trade.
Just trade. You guys work for me. No money, but you don't need it.
Man, the level of charisma this guy must have had to be able to go to an uncontacted tribe.
It's pretty crazy, man. And it's cool. So anyway, he starts this plantation. It actually does really well. They establish trade networks. They start to trade. They grow their plantation to a really big size. And eventually he starts to expand it to other islands nearby. It gets integrated with the local communities and actually starts just living and enjoying his life here on the island. And he's building his coconut plantation. And by all accounts, people said he treated them like super fairly. For the standards of the day, he paid, even by our standards, he was fair to his workers. He's very kind. He was compassionate. He wasn't cruel. He wasn't a brutal taskmaster, nothing like that. He just treated people really well.
They had an HR department and OSHA would stop by.
401k,
401k.
IRA, the whole shebang.
PTO.
Paid time off, yeah.
Maternity leave.
Well, speaking of maternity leave, he probably needed it because he eventually marries the daughter of the chief. And her name is Singdo. To get her name, Singdo. And they decide to get married. And he eventually has, I think, 8 children.
Wow.
Let me double check this. Most of them survive into adulthood.
Austin's saying more.
Yes. More was it? How many was it? 9, sorry. And the 9 and then a few don't survive, but most of them survive to adulthood. So 9 children with Singbo.
That's not that many years, right?
No, he was there for many, many years. Like he was there for quite a while.
Yeah. Oh, look at that.
Yeah. And so
wow.
let me explain the story about this picture. So eventually there's a Swedish diplomat named Birger Morner who comes to the island and he's sailing around the region exploring, and he hears about the story of this like Swedish king or something. This guy is like ruling this island. So he goes and he finds...
Wait. Does he become the king?
Well, just wait. He hears rumors of it. This is spreading around. He meets him on the island. He's like, you are a fellow Swede? Like, he's like, what's going on? And eventually...
Accent count.
Had to do it. And eventually, he gets these very famous photographs in, let's see, when did he take these photographs? Around like 1907 or 8 or something like that.
Wait. Show us that photo. Wait. Okay. You said he was born in 1875.
Yes.
That was 1907. He is...
No, this
how
is
old?
This is later. This is like...
I was going to say,
okay.
if he's 32...
That's a pretty rough 32-year-old, man.
The first
Not
picture
age well.
Yeah, let me find my date. I have a date for when this guy came.
He must... I mean, I'm sure they took photos later, too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Anyways, he gets married in 1907. So I know he came later than 1907. So they got married in 1907. That would be way later because he had a bunch of kids.
Yeah,
because
he had
So he
kids,
came later, much later. The Swedish diplomat comes and he's like, oh my gosh, like you're in this island with like a bunch of children and you're living here. You're from Sweden. This is crazy. Takes these famous photographs of him. And those begin to circulate around Sweden. And people start hearing about this really cool story, and they start, of course, all these romanticized like stories of his legend and his prowess and his battles start to, obviously go around the place. But this is when people first start hearing about this guy living out there.
Austin has a notes.
Yeah.
The photo's from 1918.
18, that's what it is. Okay, 1918. Yeah. So that makes sense based on the age of the
Like
kids
right
there in that picture.
before the
So,
end of World War
43
I,
or so.
or around the end of World
yeah.
War I.
Yeah.
so 8 or 9 children. I have a different story. 8 or 9 children. Most did not, or most survived a childhood. 2 didn't. European connections let him, continue this trade. But yeah, eventually the chief and the king does die, and because they practice male primogeniture, he's the next in line. And so literally the people unanimously decide you're chief now.
Wow.
He's married the chief's daughter. So literally this man has so integrated himself into this community that he is now the chief of
That is
Tabar.
This is
seriously.
like it's like a video game side quest. Man.
Right.
Yeah.
It's-
It's pretty
Marries
incredible.
into the Chiefs family.
You become the
Yeah.
chief. Yeah,
Starts
that is
trades.
really. That is like I'm trying to think of like what story that is.
There's like
most
some
There's so
movie out
many.
there.
There's
a
so
lot,
many.
yeah.
It feels, it feels archetypal.
Way to make the most of a bad situation.
I know. I mean, in a sense, like, and he benefited the island tremendously. He
Yeah.
wasn't just there to like make it by and get out. Like he was
Right.
actually like, oh, I'm a part of this. This is like my home in a sense.
This is
and he
my
really
life now.
believed this. And this is proved even more in what happens next. So sadly, tragically, his wife actually dies in 1921. So like 3 or 4 years after that picture was taken, his wife dies
like
in a fever,
15 years of
post
marriage.
childbirth complications.
Wow.
Has a child, and of course he's now left with a newborn and a bunch of children, and he's deeply grieved. He's very grieved by this, of course, and he also has. It's really hard to take care of that many children, already as it is. But now with no wife, I mean, what are you gonna do? So, what he decides to do is he's like, I'm gonna travel back to Sweden and find another wife to come back with me to take care of my children. Literally, that was his
my
mindset. He
word.
wanted to
Wow.
have someone to take care of his children. Which, it's a kind of common practice, especially back then, to do that kind of thing. So
Especially
he,
by
That's kind of a hard sell to any potential.
that's what I
wife.
thought.
Yeah.
But he's successful because he goes back to Sweden. This is where now the flash story's
this guy's
over.
aura is 100.
now
man.
It's
he's-
crazy.
This is-
Yeah, so let's
Now it's back to the
Yeah.
present
Now we're-
where he's talking back
Yeah,
to his
yeah,
mother or
okay.
something.
We're flashing back now. The camera, the fade in, fade out. We're back at the door of his mother. He's like, "Mother, I need a wife." No, not really. But anyway,
Good to see you too,
She's
son.
like- she's like,
where
son.
you been?
By the
I already
way,
have a wife and
9
family. Long
kids.
story. Let's just.
So he goes back. What happens with the children? Are they like
They're being cared for by the village.
Okay,
people
by
that-
the
or
village.
by
Got
the
it.
tribe.
Oh,
Okay,
I
he's-
thought he might
yeah.
bring them along. but-
No, I'll tell
This
you
is
some
the
of what
early
he does with children
1900s.
later.
It's not a
Yeah.
flight. He's like, all right, kids, daddy will be back in what? 8 months?
But a year,
A
5
year.
years,
Longer?
maybe
A couple years, yeah. And
Couple
so
years?
wow.
Jeez.
And so he leaves to go back, and he basically needs to find a wife. And again, like I said, hard sell. Like, hey, do you want to marry me? Let's go to a remote island in Papua New Guinea and raise my 8 children. I mean, that's
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
I don't know. That's
But
that's-
don't worry, I'm the chief.
I mean, that's kind of cool.
That's
pretty cool.
I can't believe they let
imagine
him
his,
stay
like-
chief
Again,
all
it's
that
also
time.
it's important to know. By this point, his industry had grown enough where he was traveling often. He was connected. It wasn't like he was consigning her to life on just like an island, never
Right.
able. No, by this point, of course, there were broader connections available, and he had his children off sent to school eventually. So like this is happening in the background. But yeah, that's a hard sell. But he eventually marries a woman named Jessie Louisa Simpson, and she marries him in 1923 and agrees to accompany him back. So he then travels all the way back to the island, but sadly, he'd been gone for a few years. So when he gets back, the coconut plantations just totally fall into disrepair. Mismanagement, lackadaisical care of the whole plantation, no proper oversight. The whole thing's like mostly dilapidated at this point, which is devastating. So he does not give up. He keeps trying as hard as he can to repair and rebuild things. Sadly, though, the coconut market is let's say more volatile than oil prices in the Middle East right now. Okay, they're going up and down and up and down and up and down.
Way to date the podcast.
Yeah, I know,
James.
right? We've lost our eternal.
I don't know. I feel like that's a pretty.
It'll probably be
It'll apply.
That's applied
for
from like
us.
1990 to like even the
That's true,
70s.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
We could have filmed this in the 90s. Or now. You never know.
anyway, okay, so things are going so well. They get there. Things aren't going so great in the coconut market. The plantations already suffered a lot. And sadly enough, him and his wife get sick pretty regularly at this point. Malaria is hitting pretty bad. His wife gets malaria and is not doing too well in the conditions, sadly enough. So His fortunes do somewhat turn, though. He finds gold on the island of Simberi in the mid-1920s, and he thinks, hey, I think I might have changed my fortune. So he actually kind of regains his fortune somewhat, finding gold on this island nearby. Unfortunately, though, his wife is getting worse and worse and worse. So despite him trying to get her health care, they actually go back to Australia, try to find her healthcare at a better, more advanced place with healthcare. Then he tries to go all the way to Sweden, takes her home, tries to get her care there. Nothing's working. She eventually succumbs to cancer and malaria. So the malaria had progressed. She also had cancer at this point. So sadly, his second wife does die in 1935. So in 1935, again, he's doing okay financially. This gold is helping. He has the coconut plantations, but his wife has passed. And eventually he goes back to Tabar, but his health is starting to fail him as well. By this point, he's getting a bit elderly, and he decides to leave to go get better health care in Sydney, Australia. So he goes back to Australia, tries to recover over there, but unfortunately he dies of a heart attack in 1937. Wow. So that's the end of his life. So again, kind of a sad ending to the story. But
where were, while he was, traveling around, finding the gold, going back, going to Sydney, where were his kids? Were they back?
Yeah, I don't know the details
island?
for everybody, but for example, before he died, he named his son Frederick as his successor. So he literally, the guy's a king. I mean, so he tells his son, hey, after I pass, I want you to be chief and take care of the island. His son, though, was studying medicine to be a doctor in New Zealand. So he apparently, he's sending his kids to boarding schools. He was trying to, do what he could for them. So his son is in New Zealand, and his son actually tries to take up the mantle. He decides to go to the island, Tabar, and he tries to handle issues there, but he soon finds that he's not quite cut out for it. And he's like, this is insane. This is tough. I'm not doing as well as I wanted to. So his son Frederick eventually decides this is not going to work sustainably to maintain the economy here. Let's auction off. Let's find us a new owner of the island. So he actually tries to get Sweden to buy the island. And he at one point offers it to them, offers them, taking you guys buy it, and then later, do you guys want to own it just for free? They don't want it. But eventually Australia, he gets it to Australia. Australia eventually takes ownership over the island. It'll pass to and fro with the Japanese during World War II, but the island eventually is under the control of Australia. So this man's life,
real quick. So with all that changing of leadership or whatever, Australia, Japan, the new chief, whatever, what are the people on the island experiencing? I mean, is it like full on colonialism, or do they leave them alone?
I'm not quite sure. I think it's relatively they're relatively left alone. I think they're Australia I think owned them. I don't know if they actually did. Austin's a good thing to look up for current events. I didn't look into that as much. But I do know obviously it was one of those strategic islands that Japan's taking in this whole process. And I don't know what Japanese occupation was like. If it's like the Philippines, maybe not so good, but I'm not sure. So anyway, that's the story. His story wasn't really popular until eventually it was published in Swedish newspapers several times and kind of got, pretty well known. The biggest thing that happened though, which is very interesting, in 1944, this woman writes this book called Pippi Longstocking. I'm sure you've heard of it before. We all know Pippi Longstocking, the red hair.
Yeah,
the
you haven't heard of it?
No. He's like, I'm too Turkish to understand.
I've heard it. Yeah, I think I saw an old movie of Pippi Longstocking, but it's also like a book. It's a novel series.
Yeah. So basically, the Wendy's logo girl, she looks like that exactly, pretty much.
And she goes on adventures and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this woman writes these books for her daughter who is sick with pneumonia, and writes about Pippi Longstocking, this brave, awesome girl that's super strong and does all these cool things. Right. It's a really classic, really influential classic stories. The father of Pippi Longstocking, the author based almost exactly on Carl Pettersson. So she literally is he's this guy who went on this island and eventually married the chief's daughter, became chief. So there's actually this whole backstory to her father that is based off of his life. Yeah. One of the other ways he's kind of immortalized in that sense. But again, people often don't realize it's actually a real person.
I mean, his story, it sounds like fiction. You know what I mean?
Oh,
yeah. So
even the finding gold part.
Right. It's
I'm what? Who finds gold?
It's like the falling.
Not anymore.
Falling action and then the final.
Finding gold is something you write in a fiction when you want your character to have a change or something. You're like, and he found gold.
That is pretty insane. Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, I was going to read you guys a quote from the Sydney Morning Herald, his obituary when he died in Sydney. It said this: "Few Europeans who ventured into the island lived lives so curious and so entwined with the people as did Carl Emil Pettersson." So I think it was a fairly fitting quote to wrap up his life. I think it's a cool story. It's one of the more positive stories of this period when it comes to contact between these various peoples. I think it's kind of cool to see. So yeah, I thought it was very wholesome in a sense, and crazy that there was literally a Swedish man who became king. Fun story. I looked into some of these kinds of stories. There were like 3 or 4 different like British or European men that like found some remote peoples in like Tibet and the Himalayas and places like this who eventually kind of became like their own kings and created their own rajas in these regions. It's interesting. There's a couple of stories of this I found fascinating, but yeah, his was a definitely more wholesome one where he actually tried to say, hey, how can I make this place better for my own people? Because in a sense, they were his people. His children were from this island, right? So yeah, kind of cool.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
I've got a couple details. So originally, it was owned by the Tabar Islanders. In 1938, once Frederick went back, he gave it to the Australian government.
Right.
It passed to the Japanese during 42 to 45, passed back to Australian government after World War II ended, until New Guinea gained independence in 1975 and is now since then
now Papua New Guinea.
Okay.
Gotcha. Cool.
And then also just a little fact I found about the gold deposit.
Yeah.
It's actually one of the largest gold deposits in the world, apparently.
The world?
In total, it had 4.7 million ounces of gold in the hills, which if you equate to today's dollars is worth almost $24 billion.
That's crazy.
But Frederick feels really bad about his decision to give the island
He didn't
away.
just find gold.
He didn't.
Can I have like an ounce of his luck, please? Like
he didn't just strike gold. He struck
the biggest
$24 billion worth.
He
of
struck
gold.
all the gold.
Like all the gold.
That's crazy.
Wow.
I want a fifth of his luck.
You know
like,
what this guy
seriously.
is like to me? This guy is along the same vein as people like Johnny's dad. He has main character energy. Like things just work out for this guy, you know? Things just work out.
Things. I will say, my dad does a lot of stuff where he doesn't always think it through, like all the details. He trusts that it's going to work out, and it usually does.
That's so
does.
true.
Yeah.
I love that about
Dean.
your. I love it about your dad. Yeah, that's great.
No, he reminds me. This guy reminds me of like if you're playing Dungeons and Dragons and you just keep rolling and you just keep getting the
charisma
D20,
checks
net
are
20.
Nat 20, whatever.
Yeah, net 20. Oh man,
Yeah, pretty incredible.
just
cool.
like insane level of. Yeah, I don't know. Like adaptability is what comes to my mind.
Yeah.
You know, it's just to like. I don't know. I probably wouldn't do anything like that if I showed up on an island like that.
I was going to say earlier. So a lot of us have lived in a lot of different places, right? I mean, I've lived in Europe for a while. We've also lived in Asia before. And so we have some experience with different cultures. And the Swedish culture, I've actually never been to Sweden, but I've been near there. And from what I know, Swedish culture is very different from these cultures on these islands.
Oh yeah,
Right.
sure.
Yeah.
And through the different places I've lived in, I've noticed most people, when you're living in a place or among a culture that you're not from, you try to hold on to your previous culture in a way. Like you don't want to lose it. And so a lot of people form like communities of their like people or whatever within another culture.
Yeah.
And to fully integrate into another culture is actually really difficult. Like it takes it takes years to just be comfortable in a certain place, you know? And so to do that, to like fully integrate, I imagine he must have learned the local language over time.
Yeah.
And to become chief and be respected and trusted in that way takes so long.
Oh yeah.
But I imagine the lack of technology and connection with people over hundreds of miles.
Right. You're insulated too, right?
Because it forces you.
You have to.
Have to. You know.
Also, the threat of death, I would imagine.
It's a great motivator.
Yeah. But there were times where he could have left, right? I mean,
That's true.
He could have been rescued. He could have left, but he stayed. He chose to stay.
I'm giving his father. I mean, his father left his family. He could have left his family.
That's
way easier, but
right.
he didn't. And that's why I felt like, is this man an unsung hero? I felt like, I don't know. I'm sure he did plenty of wrong things in his life, like we all do. But it was that itself that was commendable to me.
Yeah.
He cared for his children, despite them living in an age where that would have been a challenge. Okay, them being mixed children would have been a challenge, I'm sure. But he cared for his children. He loved his wife. He also cared enough about his children to try to find a new wife to come back from. That's wild, right?
Yeah,
so it's interesting.
That's pretty crazy.
There's like a
to me,
redemption arc there. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Speaking
I
of
wanna
arcs,
see-
there was a promise of a hibiscus plant.
Yeah, where are we getting going back to that one?
Like the hibiscus plant, which when made into tea,
Okay, Johnny, what was your question?
I was getting somewhere. Okay.
That's okay. That's okay.
I was gonna say I think you can make several different movies out of his life, but one of them I want to see is the rom-com of finding the new wife in Sweden.
That'd be a great
A
show.
movie of that,
that's
of them
really
falling in
funny.
love, and then he's like, how do you want to move to?
There's like the moment when he tells her about it and she like rejects him and runs off. And then there's like
Right.
some moment that
Right
like
as
brings
he's
them
about to get
back
back on the
together.
ship.
There's the
She's like-
miscommunication.
She's like,
aspect.
wait. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
So funny.
Oh man,
That'd be great. Yeah.
Wow. Well, thanks, James.
Yeah.
That's a pretty
Yeah.
pretty cool story.
I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'd never heard of him before. So it was a new one for me. But
Mhm.
yeah.
It's a very unique story. Among the unsung heroes we've talked about before, I don't think we've talked about a story that was anything like that, honestly.
Yeah,
So,
seriously.
Yeah, it felt pretty neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
All right, should I close this out? Is this
Yes.
Well, yeah, we're going to write a song.
we are.
We have no idea what we're going to write.
I wonder what genre you guys will do for this one.
Yeah.
I know what kind of genre.
Yeah.
I'm very familiar with Papua New Guinea folk music. Actually, I have a.
Yeah, that's
That's not gonna work.
we don't usually make
We
the
don't-
genre fit
yeah,
the story,
we don't.
which is
True.
fine. Yeah,
We
we'll
always say that.
we'll
You could be getting a a hard metal song. I mean, who knows?
I'd love to see that.
I
That would
don't
be
think
something.
so.
Scream
I
out.
don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm sure it'll be good because James is a great instrumentalist and singer.
Oh, you're very kind. Yeah, and you're the one who
It's
makes the
also-
magic happen, though.
You're
It's
the
also your
strong Charlie
birthday
of music.
tomorrow. and
It is my
Strong
birthday.
Charlie of
tomorrow.
music.
Yes.
It is my birthday tomorrow.
Happy
Yes,
early
I'm
birthday,
very
sir.
wonderful.
Not to date the podcast.
No one knows it. I mean, when is his birthday? Who knows?
Generic year and generic.
Generic.
content.
Yeah.
It's very
Yes.
exciting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, anyway, we're gonna get to work on that song, so stay tuned for that. That'll play right after this. Any other closing thoughts, guys?
Careful when you invest in
trying
the
to think
coconut
about.
market.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
need a. You know how we used to in season 1 come up with these like quotes that we could put on merch from every
Yes.
episode.
Yes.
What would be the one for this one?
Something about a hibiscus.
Strike
no,
gold.
that one's a
no.
first.
I think we should have a strong Charlie.
Strong
Strong Charlie.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
it, yeah.
Or like
That's
when in
obvious,
doubt,
yes.
strike gold. Your problems will go
Yeah,
away.
yeah.
That's what it
Right.
was,
I like
yeah.
Strong Charlie.
Strong
I could
Charlie.
see myself wearing a hat. That's the Strong Charlie.
Strong Charlie.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, stay tuned to the Unsung Heroes podcast merch store that I don't know,
Probably
maybe
will
in a
never
couple
happen.
decades we'll open it up when we're in
Yeah.
our 50s or something. But yeah.
Next time we do
For
the
season
podcast,
3.
right?
In 10
Season
years.
3.
Season 3, yes, when that returns. But
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening and watching, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye bye.
Thanks.
nice.
I sail the ocean far away. Out I drifted, I couldn't stay. One stormy Christmas, I washed ashore. One look into your eyes and I was sure you saved my life, so I'll give you more. In all our doubts, through the toil, can't ignore what I need is on your shore. I'm drifting, but I'll find my way to you. Build a life I never knew. We're risking all that we thought we'd have for the things we thought would never have a chance. You are children, love, support, be our kingdom, and you be my queen so we can dance beneath the growing palm. No matter what the people say, far across the ocean, we still have our getaway where I wish you could stay in my arms. You took me in, gave me a name, so I became one of you, kindled the flame. But like all things, we could not last. So I see you in the children's eyes, like you never left. saved my life, so I'll give you more. And all our doubts through the toil can't ignore. All we have is on the shore. I'm drifting, but I'll find my way to you. Build a life I never knew. We're risking all that we thought we'd have for the things we thought would never have a chance. For our children, love, Tabar will be our kingdom, and you be my queen, so we can dance beneath the growing palm. No matter what the people say, far across the ocean, we still have our getaway. But I wish you could stay in my arms. Well, I wish you could stay in my arms.